In this video, I want to talk a little bit about the moon and how the moon actually impacts bass fishing. I know that if you are really into bass fishing, you've probably heard about this before. And maybe if you're just getting into fishing, you have heard this and you just don't really understand it. And in this video, I just want to talk to you about a few of my experiences that I've had out there on the water and how the moon has impacted those experiences. We just got done with this year-long hype leading up to the solar eclipse, and I actually fished during the solar eclipse just yesterday, and I'll leave a link for that video at the very end of this one. But in this video, I want to talk all about the moon and a few things that I have seen over the years and how it impacts our fishing. Now, before we get into the video, guys, I'm running a sale for the month of April 2024. If you buy one of my USA made sun shirts, you can actually get a free rod glove, fin fishing rod glove. These things are really, really awesome. There's been a great response on the channel for these particular items. All you got to do is add the sun shirt to cart, USA made sun shirt to cart, add the rod glove to cart. It will automatically discount at checkout. All right, let's talk about the moon. This is something that I'm sure there's a video or two out there on the interwebs about it, but I've never really heard, I guess, someone sit there and kind of talk about some of the experiences that they have had with the moon. You just kind of hear things over the years. Now, the first thing is, this is something that's probably the most talked about, is a moon will push bass up on the beds. And this is 100% true. I don't care. I don't care what anyone else says. I have seen a lot of times over the course of me fishing for fishing well over 20 years, but competitively bass fishing for almost 20 years now, that the bass will go to the bed, especially during a full moon. And I got a privilege of spending 5 weeks down in Florida, 5 weeks straight, a number of years ago, back in 2015. And I was there through 2 full moon cycles. And it was amazing to me because there was areas of this lake where I would go, I would see beds, I would visibly see them, there'd be no fish. And for both of those 2 moon cycles, when we had a full moon that came up, man, the fish flooded the bed. I mean, all of a sudden you went from seeing fish, beds without fish, to the fish on beds everywhere. Sorry, I obviously can't talk. I think it's really important to understand too that the new moon will have this kind of same effect. Now, the big thing with the moon and why you may hear differently is that this isn't the only reason that bass will go up on beds. So bass, when they decide, when you kind of have a longer, day and the light is longer, they know that this season is right for spawning. So some bass are going to go up onto the beds at any given point in time. It doesn't matter if it's a moon, a full moon, waxing moon, waning moon, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. But I have seen several times, not only in Florida, but in a lot of different lakes. I've seen this down in Mississippi. I've seen it here in Ohio. When you have a full moon, you will have a lot of fish push up and start bedding. 100% accurate. Why? This is I always love to know the why to these things. I don't know the why. I've heard the gravitational pulls. I've heard the longer light, or the more light at night. I've heard a number of different things. I don't know why. I just know that it happens. Now, something that may be even more important to know about a moon is that this has the exact same effect on a lot of bait fish that the bass eat. For example, bluegill and shad are the most important ones that I can think about. Now, for those of you who have shad in your lakes, if you're kind of getting into April and May, which we are, you will have a shad spawn. And just like the bass that flood the banks to spawn when a new moon happens, I have seen the exact same thing happen with the shad spawn. You will all of a sudden have a giant shad spawn in a lake. And really what that tells me as an angler is that I just need to be prepared. I need to realize that a shad spawn could potentially be happening. I need to get to the lake early, and I need to get there and be prepared to cover a lot of water. And the best thing about a shad spawn is a lot of times you can visibly see it. You will see the shad scurrying just below the surface, and you will see the shad scurrying against, you know, whatever they're spawning on. You know, it may be a dock, it may be rocks, it may be bridge pilings, it may be your own boat. I've had shad spawn on my boat before. So it's just a cue that to me that, hey, I need to get to the body of water early, like an hour before sunset, and start fishing, because during that like next 2-hour time frame, you are going to have a lot of success. And if you can be at the right place when that happens, man, you can absolutely load the boat and just have an absolute ball. Now, something that happens even more throughout the year, and this is really going to benefit you no matter if you fish in lakes, rivers, and especially if you fish in ponds. But guys, during full moons throughout the year, especially during the summer, like May, June, July, August, I've even seen this in September, during the full moons in each of those months, you will have bluegill that also go up to the bank to spawn. Now, sometimes you can see bluegill spawning with your own eyes. You will see a honeycomb style area. It may be a 50 by 50 foot area. It may just be a little 3 or 4 foot area that has these honeycomb beds, and the bluegill will all be around them. Now, the important thing to understand about bluegill beds, because sometimes you will see them, is that sometimes they're not always active beds. You will find an area with a bunch of beds and you're like, oh, I found a bluegill bed, but this is a bed that was active maybe a month ago. And so it's important to find the beds that have a lot of bluegill, you know? And so that's the biggest thing that I'm gonna look for. And like I said, a lot of times I can just go down the bank, look with my own eyes. Once I find a bluegill bed, a lot of times I'm just gonna mark it. That's all I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna mark it, and sometimes I will mark 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20, 30 different bluegill beds, and then I will swing back through and actually start to fish those beds. And I fish them with a number of different lures. I love throwing topwaters around bluegill beds. Poppers are one of my favorite, a swim jig, a bluegill style swim bait, and just a simple wacky rig Senko. I mean, those are some great times to fish. And again, if you're a pond fisherman, I mean, one of the primary bait fish in ponds for bass to eat is a bluegill. So you will see a ton of bluegill in ponds. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is if you live on a tidal water system. Now, we know that a lot of the tides are controlled by the moon. Sorry, you can probably hear my kids in the background. They're trying to get in the garage right now. But one thing that happened to me, I was fishing the James River in Virginia a number of years ago, and we had a certain moon that came by. I don't know what it was. It was like a blue moon, an orange moon, a purple moon. I don't know what they all are. But what it did is it kept water into the areas that I was fishing a lot longer. So when I was anticipating that water falling is usually when I would start to get bites. I was really wanting to have water falling. I was really wanting to have low water. That's something that you like to have a lot when you're fishing in tidal waters. And what this moon did is it kept a lot of water in the system, and it didn't drop the way that it had the prior days to me fishing. And it really messed me up. And it's just something that I didn't understand, I didn't know about, I wasn't aware of, but again, it was something that, it was the moon and how the moon impacted it. And so if you live on a tidal water fishery, I would love to know your thoughts on that, because you have probably seen it more, you probably understand it better, and I just always am wanting to learn and wanting to understand things a little bit better. Now, if you guys want to watch a video of me actually fishing through the eclipse that just happened yesterday, I'm gonna leave it linked right here, so you guys can check that out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, comment below, and you can click this link right here for fin fishing. I will see you guys tomorrow.